So for the story that I want to offer tonight, I need all of us to channel our inner Regina George, okay? We're going to channel our inner mean girl. Imagine you are back in high school. I know, not many of us want to do that. Either back in high school or imagine forward to high school, depending on your vantage point. Because this is a story where we're going to pour some tea, if you will. So once there was a girl named Sophie. Sophie was very popular, and she had a lot of friends. But as happens when you're popular, she wasn't friends with everyone, especially when she threw a party. She had a pretty selective guest list in mind, starting at the very top with the popular kids on the dance team. And you can imagine what it must have felt like to get invited to one of Sophie's parties, and what it felt like to not get invited to one of Sophie's parties. Needless to say, all the important people at school were invited, and those who were not, were not. So Sophie was having a party, and she texted an invite to her friend Rachel Green and told her she really was excited and she really wanted Rachel to come to her party. But there was a problem. Sophie made a classic blunder. Instead of texting her friend Rachel Green, she texted Rachel Greenberg. We've all been there. And Rachel Greenberg, this wouldn't be a big deal, except for that Rachel Greenberg had been a friend of Sophie's in elementary school, but they had a falling out. And Sophie got Rachel kicked off the dance team. Now they don't even speak. Their friends don't even speak to each other. The beef is real, okay? But Rachel got the invitation by mistake. Rachel Greenberg got the invitation by mistake and decided to come to the party. And she walked up and she saw the whole dance team there. But when Sophie saw her in the corner, eating snacks, anxiously looking for someone to talk to, she was outraged. How could Rachel Greenberg show up to my party? The audacity. After what she did, how could she possibly be here? Sophie didn't realize how she had found out about the party and couldn't believe she thought it would be okay to show up. So Sophie demanded that Rachel leave immediately. She was devastated. She thought that she was doing the mature, responsible thing, that this invitation was an olive branch, that she was showing up to repair the relationship. Rachel said, please, this is really embarrassing, but I'll pay for all of the food that I eat. I promise it won't be a big deal. It'll be okay. Sophie refused. Rachel said, I'll pay for half the party. I'll pay for half of everything that your parents spent on this party. Still, Sophie refused. Finally, she offered to pay for the entire party, for food and decorations and DJ and the photo booth, everything. But still, Sophie said, no. You have to leave. And all of this is happening. The rest of the dance team is sitting and watching and giggling and pointing and not intervening, just letting it happen. And as you can imagine, Rachel was humiliated. She got angry. She felt she had to do something to get back at Sophie, but even more at Sophie's friends on the dance team who had just watched and laughed as she got kicked out. So the next day, Rachel went to their school principal and told him that Sophie and her friends were planning to cheat on a test at the end of the week. The principal wasn't sure whether to believe Rachel, but he decided on a plan. He figured he would do something nice for the dance team and try to convince them that the school valued them. If they were really planning to cheat on the test, perhaps this nice gesture would win them over, and they wouldn't cheat after all. And if they weren't, maybe it was just a nice thing to do, and they would appreciate the gesture. So the principal asked Rachel to deliver 12 donuts to the team. She took them, and what does she do with them? She dips them in the gutter and hands them at dance rehearsal, drops them off at dance rehearsal. And of course, one girl grabs a donut, takes a bite. "Ugh, that is disgusting." Immediately she realizes something is wrong and they don't eat them. But what was the message the principal was trying to send them, they tried to figure out. They debated, should they send the principal a thank you note in order to preserve their relationship and show they're not up to anything, or should they reject it so people know that you can't send tainted gifts to the dance team? But Sophie took things one step further. She suspected that behind all of this was Rachel Greenberg. And perhaps the team could accuse Rachel of cheating and try to get her suspended. So they went back and forth, and the captain of the dance team was there for this discussion about what to do. And ultimately, she decided basically not to do anything. Not to accept the donuts, and not to send a thank you note. And she also decided they should not try to have Rachel suspended. It doesn't have a satisfying ending. But the question is, who is to blame? Who was responsible for the wrongs? In other words, who is the bad guy in this story, and who is the good guy? But before we get to those questions, you might be asking yourself, why is the rabbi telling us this story? What on earth could possibly make this story Jewish, other than donuts, I guess, right? Well, this is actually a modern retelling of a Talmudic story that explains why the second temple was destroyed, because of sinat chinam, baseless hatred. In the place of the dance team are the rabbis. In place of the donuts, an animal sacrifice at the temple. Instead of a school principal, there was Caesar, ruler of Rome. Rachel Green was Kamsa, Rachel Greenberg, Bar Kamsa, and the captain of the dance team, Rabbi Zachariah. And as Cantor Vodnitsky mentioned, tomorrow evening begins Tisha B'Av, the most somber day on the Jewish calendar, a day when we mourn the destruction of the ancient temples in Jerusalem, along with many other tragedies throughout Jewish history. And the Talmud teaches that while the first temple was destroyed because of idolatry and violence, the second temple was destroyed because of sinat chinam, baseless hatred. So we ask ourselves, who is at fault here? Who is to blame? That question we love to ask when something goes wrong. Was it Sophie for rejecting Rachel's sincere attempts to make peace and repair their relationship? Was it Rachel Greenberg for retaliating in a way that was malicious and destructive? Was it the dance team for standing by and saying nothing while someone was publicly embarrassed? Or was it the team captain who chose inaction and avoided making a hard decision? The power of the story and the reason the rabbi saw it as a parable for the fall of Jerusalem is that no one person is entirely to blame, but no one is entirely innocent either. Everyone played a part. Everyone missed a chance to choose kindness, courage, or compassion. And the result was broken trust, broken community, and in the Talmud's version, a broken nation. So tonight, as we approach Tisha B'Av, I invite you to reflect. When have we been that person who excluded or humiliated, even unintentionally? When have we taken our hurt caused by others and decided to get revenge? When have we been part of the crowd, watching the suffering of others and choosing to stay silent? The lesson of Tisha B'Av is that we are all responsible for how we treat others, for how we respond when we are wronged, and for what we do or don't do when we witness injustice or cruelty in the world. The ancient temple was destroyed by Rome, but the rabbis said it was also destroyed by us, from the inside out. Tisha B'Av calls on us to build something stronger, a community rooted in courage, empathy, and mutual responsibility. May the stories we tell and the choices we make help bring healing where there has been hurt and connection where there has been division. Shabbat Shalom.